Okay.
Change this to public. Edit to public. You're live.
Okay. So how do you change it?
Down. Edit. Scroll down.
Save.
Smile, you're live.
Can you see my face?
No.
Now can you see me? Not yet, eh?
I see your screen.
Now you can see me, right? Okay.
Sorry.
So welcome everyone. Sorry for the delay. We just got a new studio set up here. It's called an OBS. It's a lot of BS as far as I'm concerned. But I'm very fortunate to have a good wife that knows how to read the internet and look at YouTube tutorials and set this all up. So what we're going to attempt tonight to make this a little bit more interesting, and maybe someone could say something so I know the chat line's working.
Yeah, just hold on.
And I got two monitors set up here as well, so that's making my job a little easier. So what I'm going to try to do tonight is we're going to try to pull in a display and look at, we can share my web browser as we talk. We can look things up. And the other thing we're going to try in the future is actually hooking some people in, and we're looking into Zoom. So now, do I have to get out of this edit screen, or can you see me on here all right?
Yes.
Yeah, so now if I change my display, can you see that? And I'm going to go over here and go here. Can you see that?
It's just, yes, I see your screen now.
So you can see that, eh?
Yeah.
Good, okay. So I'm going to go over here, and this goes back to me then. So I can go from display, and then I can go back to the webcam. So, okay. So that's working great. So we'll go back to the webcam, and now that we have this all figured out, we can take a look at some of the points of discussion that we were looking at. And you are live. So if you're online, if you're looking, if you're queued into this, don't be afraid to hook up and chat. Just type something in. We want to make everyone feel welcome. There's no right or wrong answers. If there's a topic that you are interested in and it's not a topic we're talking about tonight, talk about it. We're calling this Tuesday. Let's Talk Tuesday. That's kind of the new thing. I'm getting used to it too. So let's talk on Tuesday. It's just something that we're looking at hosting on a regular basis to give people an outlet to chat and talk about what's happening in their life. We thought through this channel we could eventually pull on some speakers. Perhaps some of you on this channel would like to come on and talk, share your story. So this is something that you can email us. Just email us if you're interested. And my wife is working on setting all those things up. Apparently through Zoom we can set up like 100 phone calls, pending how big your internet is. We've had a few on our internet here, so I think it's possible that we can do a few and make this something that everyone can enjoy. So tonight we were talking about the Bible and how the New Testament has been changed over time. Now, for many of you that are just hooking up, perhaps you've been in the religion.
Daniel's online with you.
Oh, okay. So Daniel's online. So welcome, Daniel. Do you see Daniel over there, hun?
No.
Oh.
Chatting.
Oh, do you see him on the chat?
Yes.
Oh, because I can't see any chat here. Am I supposed to see a chat?
Maybe it was originally before you got on.
Oh, okay. I see. So, There we go. Now I got some chat happening here. So Kingdom Apologetics, Daniel. So this is an interesting story. I started looking at the this New Testament and or this Holy New World Translations, the JW Bible. And I actually use, I'm just going to get what I use here. I'll show you. So of course, this is a brand new one, 2013 edition, the one that Daniel pointed out that's missing Mark, the last part of Mark, and we found a whole bunch of other stuff that's missing. Then I have, when I was pioneering with the Jehovah's Witness religion, I didn't like, I don't know how many of you guys did this out there in the Jehovah's Witness world, but you know how this is the New World Translation? And you go to the door and everyone says, oh, you got that Bible, that's not a real Bible. So a few of us Jehovah's Witnesses did this. And we took the Bible to a bookbinder and they just took it all apart. And they just put a leather cover on it and I put my name on it and I put in Holy Bible. Now, at the time, I probably was making a mistake doing that because this is not the Holy Bible. This is a JW New World Translation. This is the 1984 edition. That's how old I am. I go way back then. And so this is a Bible I'm going to keep. I've got a lot of wear into the pages and I can use it. I didn't mind it. But you know what? In this Bible, when Daniel was online talking about how the Jehovah's Witness pulled, if you go to Mark 16, and we'll look at this a bit on screen here, but if you go to Mark 16 in the last part, they pulled it right out of the Bible. And so Daniel, I was watching this video online, and so I open up my 1984 edition, and it's in there. And so I dig deeper, and I go to this 2013 edition, and it's pulled out, and I couldn't believe it. And so what I use is this. And I compare everything to this. It's a comparative study Bible. It has 4 Bibles in it, and I kind of like the Amplified Bible. It really gives a lot of cross references. I like, so I use that as well as I use an online Bible. But Daniel, we were hoping to get him online on a video call, but we'll get him on in the future perhaps. We're not quite set up there. But it's quite interesting. I was online watching this video and I get halfway through Daniel's video and I thought, wow. I stopped his video and I went and researched this, and then I got caught up in all the research. I made my own video on Mark, and that's that one that I sent out, and I actually showed Daniel's picture on there, and I actually thought he was, I do a lot of parodies where I make it look like I'm going to the governing body, to headquarters, and talking right to them and stuff like that. So I try to make it a bit funny, and we're talking about Daniel as being a brand new Jehovah's Witness. I could probably pull the video up here if you guys wanted to see it. You let me know. But you can go online and watch it. So then we do this video, and I have some of you guys, some of the subscribers coming back and saying, hey, did you know that Daniel's actually an ex-Catholic? And then Daniel, of course, we got talking, and sure enough. So he did a really good job of some of his work. I watched a bunch of his stuff on the Trinity and different things like that. And you'd think he's working alongside all of us, breaking down the watchtower. So kudos to Daniel. Welcome to the team. Excuse me here. Welcome to the team. And Daniel says he can see and he can hear us. So here we go. So now, I don't know how to get rid of some of this stuff on here. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Do I hit play on this? Or do I just leave it? Okay. I'm getting used to this. You know, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but my wife is really doing a good job. So, yeah, so Daniel says he's here. Spiritual Questers online. He'd like to schedule a Zoom for a later date. That's great. So just send us your emails. That's super. Now, what I was going to continue on with, we're talking about the New Testament and how it was missing part of Mark. And I'm going to go and we're going to go over to the New World Translation. I'll talk in the background. So we'll see if we can pull that up. Yes, we can. And we're going to go over to the New World Translation according to John. Now, do we see that screen? We'll give it a sec. And this is right from the Jehovah's Witness website. I use their website for a lot of my research. And it's working. Okay. So right now we're looking at another part of the Bible. And this is John chapter 8. And one of the subscribers, thanks, I forget which one, said check this one out. And sure enough, I checked this one out. And this New World Translation only starts at verse 12 of John. And I guess it's for the same kind of reason. They think it's spurious or it was from another part of the transcript. But I went to every other Bible I had. I even went to their 1984 edition. I don't know why I'm holding it up because you can't see it, but I'm in the background here talking, holding this Bible up. But yeah, I looked there and it's in there. So now I thought, what are they trying to hide from this scripture? So I went to the English Standard Version over here, and we take a look at the very first part of it here. I thought I had it highlighted. There. So this is the part that they deleted, and then they start at verse 12 here. So I got reading this part of the Bible, and I thought, why would they want to delete this? It was a nice story. It's a really nice story about Jesus. I'll just give you a quick over on this, but Jesus was, they wanted to stone this woman that was a harlot, and because apparently the law says that you should stone these harlots. Let's go back to here. Try this out. Yeah, so here I am. So they wanted to stone this woman that was a harlot because the law says that's what you're supposed to do. And Jesus said to these guys, he says, well, cast the first stone. If you're not a sinner, cast the first stone. And no one would cast a stone. They all left. And I thought it was a beautiful story. Let's go back and read it. Because I'm wondering, why would the Watchtower cancel this out of the Bible? And then maybe you guys can tell me. Maybe you guys have some more insight than I do. But here it is. I'll read it. It says, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning, he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and placing her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. So what do you say? This they said to test him, that they might have some charge to bring against him. Well, Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her. And once more he bent down and wrote on the ground. But when they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones, and Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up and said to her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus says, Neither do I condemn you. Go and from now on sin no more. So I thought it was a beautiful story. This part of the Bible that the Watchtower deleted. Now, we can go and take a look at what they deleted in Mark. I think we looked at that in my last video when I was going to say Daniel got me all excited there when he was pointed out that half of the part of the Bibles are missing in the New World Translation. So that's part of it. So we started digging deeper. So what do we have for questions? Anything so far? Nothing yet, eh? So as I was continuing my research, I'm going to share the other screens with you here, and I'll show you where my research led me. There we go. Now, we covered John online and New World Translation. So I started researching this New World Translation, and they nailed it. They got a whole section in Wikipedia just talking about the New World Translation. So this is written down in stone in Wikipedia, apparently. They go all through this New World Translation. And one of the things that they bring out in here is that the New World Translation has no scholars. I'm just trying to find it. The translators, section 1, Translation Service Department. Here it is. Here it is. This committee is said to have comprised unnamed members of multiple backgrounds. The committee requested that the Watchtower Society not publish the names of its members, stating that they did not want to advertise themselves, but let all the glory go to the author of the Scriptures, God, adding that the translation should direct the reader, not to the translators, but to the Bible's author, Jehovah God. So this is just a typical... okay, let's carry on. The publishers stated that the particulars of the New World Bible Translation Committee members, university or other educational training, are not the important thing, and that the translation testifies to their qualification. So what they're saying is that it's not about education, it's about it's just about the book that they make. And so they went on to talk about how they're not going to name anybody. So that's why we kind of did a video with a masked man in the writing committee room, because you don't know who wrote this Bible. So now, if you wrote a Bible or if you wrote a book, wouldn't you want to sign it? Wouldn't you want your name on it? Now, the Watchtower, if they had artists, like people with degrees in language, in the Hebrew language, scholars, and not only scholars in the language, but scholars in the biblical language. And I think there's a difference. You can get scholarly people that maybe speak Hebrew, speak Greek, but to have someone scholarly enough in the antiquities, the old languages, to understand all that and translate it, I think you need some really scholarly people. And if I was writing a Bible, I would have all their names and plaques all up in the front, and I would have that all in my Bible. I would be proud of it, just like all the other Bibles that you go to the bookstore. If you go to the bookstore, you can buy a whole bunch of Bibles, and they show who the authors, who translated, the translation committees, and everything. And if we, one of the other things I was researching is how, even in the Watchtower, they were explaining how translations are done. And I went to their Bible to look at this, so we could go there. I'll show you here. Yeah, here we are. So what I did is I went to their index, and you go to index A3, how the Bible came to us, A3. The author, the originator. So they talk about basically what Wikipedia was talking about, where they claim they don't show who wrote it. They don't want to talk about who wrote it within their establishment. So what they're accused of doing, and what they most likely have done, is just copied English from English and just copied other people's stuff. And their big thing was they wanted to put the word Jehovah in it as many times as possible. And apparently they may have done that where they shouldn't have done it. So it's then they go on to I read a bunch of this. They go on to talk about where the translations come from, the Greek texts, and the different copyists that brought the Bible this far. Now, one of the things they brought up here, and I'm trying to find it, I probably passed over it, but they referenced all the people, all the copyists through the Bible. And these copyists and how they're meticulous about copying the scrolls over in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language. And then they even talked about how these monks and bishops copied up down until our day. So, but you see, in the Jehovah's Witness world, they don't have any copyists or people that are skilled. They don't have monks, anything like that. So I'm not sure how they come up with these. And they call it a translation. And this is the other thing that there's a discrepancy on. There's a difference in the Bible world, in Bible land, between translations and versions. So versions, this new one, even though they call it a New World Translation, and they're going back to their 1961 edition to name some credit for their translation, but they're actually calling this one a revision of that original. So these are all revisions. But they don't have a translation because they would have to prove that they've translated it from the original language. And they don't have anybody that they can prove that does that. They all have ski masks. They're all unnamed. Pardon me?
Daniel has said, as far as his research goes, Raymond Franz was the first person to reveal the names of the translators.
Interesting. And Raymond Franz is an apostate. Am I not correct? He quit the organization. He was one of the governing bodies, and they ousted him when he disagreed with something. Wrote a book. Yeah, he's one of the first apostates, I think. So it's interesting, these how they came about this New World Translation. I was talking a little bit more here, the Bible Committee. So it talks about here, just what Daniel was talking about. It says, former high-ranking Watchtower staff have identified various members of the translation team. Former governing body member Raymond Franz listed: Nathan H. Knorr, Frederick W. Franz, Albert D. Schroeder, George D. Ganges, Milton G. Hinkle as members of the translation team, adding that only Frederick Franz had sufficient knowledge in biblical languages. For just one of the guys, Frederick Franz. Referring to the identified members, evangelical minister Walter Martin said the New World Bible Translation Committee had no known translators with recognized degrees in Greek or Hebrew or the translation. None of these men had any university education except Franz, who left school after 2 years, never completing even an undergraduate degree. Because, of course, the end was always coming, so they don't want to go to school. That's the big thing with the Jehovah's Witnesses. So Frederick Franz, as it goes on here, he had stated that he was familiar with not only Hebrew, but Greek, Latin, Spanish, Portuguese, German, French, for the purpose of biblical translation. But none of these guys could speak it, really speak the language. Russell, it's interesting. I'm still doing the research on Russell, because I find that it's fascinating if we go to the founder of the whole organization and we expose what the founders did. Now Russell, some of my research was pointing to Russell as he was brought before the Canadian court system right here in Canada, back when he was trying to get into Canada with his preaching, and they're going door to door in Canada. So Russell was challenged with the fact that he didn't know this language, and he was saying that he could understand the Greek and all this. So they brought him before the court system in Canada, And he said, yeah, I understand Greek. So they had him up there and they brought in a Greek person, that's a Greek linguist or whatever, language person. And Russell couldn't speak Greek. And he said, no. He says, I take this diaglot. And you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses have a diaglot. And if you don't know about that, I'm going to show you that right now. Most of us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses know where to find this. But you just go to their site. You go to library, you go to online Bibles, and here you have all their Bibles, you see. So they have, this is their newest one, these two silver ones, like the ones I have here. This black one here, the 1984, is the one I have bound. It's more accurate, it's probably the more accurate one. Now, the other Bibles they have is the Kingdom Interlinear translation of Greek scriptures. So they print this from someone. They print the King James from someone. Like, you can order this stuff if you want to get it. I would just go to a bookstore and buy it. And that's what I did. I actually bought this Bible here. I'd have to go back to my other screen. You can't see me. So I actually bought this Bible at a bookstore. And I bought it when I was pioneering, when I was a Jehovah's Witness. I wouldn't order any of their stuff. And they still want money. You know, those servants that are watching you when you order this stuff, even though it's donation, because they had to go to a donation system because they were going to get taxed on it. They used to charge for this stuff when I started, everything at a price tag. And at one time I helped the brothers in the literature department with the I was just watching them. I was young at the time. But later, when it was on a donation basis, I worked the literature department a lot. And the elders, the service overseer would come up and say, yeah, watch so-and-so. They don't pay for their literature. Like, how do they monitor that? Not sure. But you can order I'm pointing at here, the Kingdom Interlinear translation of the Greek scriptures. I had a copy of that. And then they have the Bible in the Living English here. You can order that. So the Kingdom Interlinear scriptures, so if we went to Mark, and 16, the last part of it that they deleted, it's there. It's not deleted. 1:16, 1, 2. So you see how that works. They have Mark here, and they show the Greek words underneath the English words, and we would use that as Jehovah's Witnesses sometimes. I always thought it would be nice to have the one in Hebrew, but this is Greek. And a lot of times they would try to get God's name out of it and show people God's name. So this is all Russell knew, is how to compare these words. And so he actually printed books like this. And it's called a literal translation, I guess. There's literal translations, and then there's translators that actually know the language and know the tone of things. So you can say a word, but if you use a different tone in how you say that word, it can have a different meaning. And it doesn't come to my mind, but you know how that works. And that's the language. So we have to be careful when translating language to understand what was going on in the paragraph. You really need people that understand language. So when they brought Russell to court, this is all he put out, was this diaglot thing. And he was comparing words, and they perjured him. It's serious to be perjured in court. So in the Canadian court system, the Jehovah's Witnesses, way at the beginning, are perjured. And now I've been doing some research just recently on on the court systems in what happened in Australia, and they really perjured themselves there. So I'm doing up little videos. Over the next little bit, I'll be sending out some videos on some of this stuff. I sent out one today on how they've been covering up the sex abuse, the record keeping, and there's information out there showing that they're training their elders to cover this up. So, but anyways, I don't even have you on the screen where you can see me talking. I got to get used to this. But yeah, they're training their elders how to hide stuff and hide records, like actually get rid of the records and destroy the records. So, hi Sherry, thanks for tuning in. She's got a new computer. Got me a new computer. That's great. Yeah. So now, I don't know how many people are tuning in, but feel free to put your comments in. Anything that's coming to your mind, you want to chat. We're looking at making this a regular thing if we have a bit of participation and you guys like this. We're going to call it Let's Talk Tuesdays. If the time is good, you let us know if the time is good or not, but we're flexible. Yeah. So Sherry's got a new computer. She says, I think Proverbs says that he who covers his sin will not prosper. Yeah. And covers her sin for rearranging the Bible. Fooling people. Like, there's just so many things with the Jehovah's Witness religion. And I'm assuming most people, Daniel is online with us. He's Kingdom Apologetics. He's like an ex-JW, but he's actually an ex-Catholic. And I found him online. He said Watchtower changes Bible. So I clicked on that and I got halfway through his video and I realized, wow. And I looked in my Bible, in my 1984 edition, and it wasn't changed. But then you go to the 2013 edition, of course they changed Mark. And we just looked at John 8, and they changed that. And I was going to show you guys one other thing that they changed. I was looking at this site, and there's a lot that they've changed in the Bible. A lot of the ex-JWs have done a really good job in showing what they've changed. Now, I'm just putting you back on my display. I'm going to go to this one. I just went to You Got Questions, and is the New World Translation a valid version of the Bible? I wanted to see what some of the other people are saying, non-Jehovah's Witness people. And they won't even let this Bible be put into a bookstore. They're really disappointed with this Bible because they've changed so many things, like the word cross, the word hell. So the Bible is really made. The Jehovah's Witnesses have made this Bible tailored to their belief. And in fact, in that new Bible, you notice they have pictures in the front end, and they actually have like a little miniature Live Forever book going on in the beginning to really indoctrinate people so you don't have to go past it. And you look at a few of those old scriptures and psalms that support their theology. So that's how they do it. It says here, it's talking about the Greek word in number 1. The Greek word does not determine word usage like it does in English. And so this is what we're talking about when we talk about people that don't understand the language and trying to write Bibles. We covered where the Jehovah's Witnesses do not have people that understand Greek and Hebrew, but yet they copied a Bible. And then they changed it where they needed to, because they claim that they're God's channel, I guess. So I was going through this thing, John 1:1. That was a big thing outside of the religion, where in the beginning the Word, and the Word was, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. And the Jehovah's Witnesses changed that to the Word was a God, changing the God to a small g. And so taking away the oneness of God and Christ, I guess. Changing the Bible in that sense. So when I started researching the Bible, and I wonder how much of it's been changed over time. I'm going to go back to a screen here, then you can see me. So yeah, it's wild when we think of the Bible and how it's been changed. How much of the Bible, I was doing some research on the Trinity, and there was the Trinity was kind of came into existence, and there's a debate there, and I don't want to debate it because to me it doesn't really matter. I think most, like my wife was ex-Catholic. She's ex-Catholic, like Daniel, and she never really understood the Trinity, never believed in it. Always believed that Jesus was God's son, sat at God's right hand, and born in a manger, came through Mary, was of God. Now this is the thing, we have the Godship. I can understand you got the Godship, but you got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit all together, working together as three. I see a 3 there. But I don't think it's worth fighting over. To me, I think religion, we're outside of religion and we're looking back in and we're seeing all the different things that made religion work over all these years. And I talked about this in a video where religion is like, I'm looking at religion now like it's horse and buggy. That's back in the day that they had religions. Why did they have religions back in the day? Because they didn't have internet. We're on the internet. We don't have to start a car, go outside, like where I am at, it's a lot of times 20, 30 below Celsius. That's cold. It's always minus 10 Celsius.
Daniel says that God takes this very seriously.
What we're doing here?
Well, talking about the Trinity, I would imagine.
Oh, well, for sure. We're going to go back and talk to Daniel a bit, but let's finish off here, where I'm going with my mindset. But when we stick our head and look outside of organized religion, and that's what I've had to do, walking out of the Jehovah's Witness religion, and not even looking at the Bible for a lot of years, and then in the last year, really taking a serious look at it and trying to fix my faith and figure this all out. And for us, it's a lot of undoing. It's like an onion. You have to take each layer off. And I find when I get through this layer, I think, well, this is all they've changed. Now I'm realizing that it's deeper. And every time I do a little bit of research, it's deeper and deeper. So coming out of religion, I don't think I'm going to hop back in and believe in any doctrines. I'm not going to trust it unless I can really prove it to myself, and it makes a lot of sense. But I'm not going to trust it because I'm looking at religion as a tool that God used to get from point A to point B. And religion is going to still serve a purpose for a time, but more and more people are stepping outside of religion, like us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and we don't want to go back to religion. We don't want to be involved in religion. And you can tell me it's the best born-again religion, it has the best Trinity going on and the best singers going on, and I really don't care. In fact, that kind of repels me a bit because as a Jehovah's Witness, I still have this old programming that all this stuff was a bunch of BS, and they taught us that. And they taught us to look very critical at all the other religions, and that's a hard thing. That's a layer and layers that we have to get off. And I'm finding that I have to get outside of religion and stick my head out and look at all of the religions and look at the good that's in the religions, not the bad. So if I start looking at the good and trying to find the good, then I'm not so negative about the bad. As a Jehovah's Witness, we're so critical inside our minds, but we're trying to be loving. We're going to save all these people of all these religions, and when really we needed the saving. So that's how we were brainwashed and twisted. So let's look at Daniel. I want to go back and see what Daniel is saying. I got to get out of here. Here I are. Okay, so Daniel was saying, the Vatican and the Watchtower both believe they can change the Bible. I would hate to be their shoes on Judgment Day. Yeah, it's not a good thing. I don't know. I went down this road of kind of thinking that's what we did as Jehovah's Witnesses. We judge people back. And I don't know what God thinks. I'm not God's mind. I don't know. Maybe if God is everything, right? If God controls everything, controls evil and good, to a certain extent, to fulfill prophecy, how much of the Bible does God control? Do you think? Did God, or did he leave that up to man to get it this far? Or did God control all the prophets? So if I believe that God controlled all the prophets all the way through history, then I'm going to put faith in the Apostle Paul. I'm going to put faith in all the Catholic bishops. And guess what? I'm going to put faith in Constantinople, that brought Christianity, because the other half of that kingdom was killing the Christians, destroying the Bible. That was his brother-in-law. His wife's brother was a Christian killer. His wife was a Christian, apparently, Constantine. But Constantine was kind of, and then he had a dream apparently one night, and Jesus told him to put crosses on his shields so that He put crosses on his shields. They were losing battles, and all of a sudden they started winning, and the guys got excited. So this could just be a head game, you know, how we play games on ourselves, or it could be real. So if I'm to believe that the Bible got here by God, and it's this book that I'm holding in my hands is from God, right here, all the way back through history, then I have to believe that God used all these monks, all these people, and I got to start looking for some good in people. That means I got to start looking for a little bit of good in the Catholic Church for what they did. Even though they burned people at the stake, they still got people this far. They got the Bible this far, and it was part of the horse and buggy days of getting religion from point A to point B. That's what I see. And if I look at religion as a vehicle that got us this far, and we're now on this time plane, I believe that we're in what we call a fifth awakening. I think we're all waking up and realizing that organized religion was not doing what God really wanted it to do. Although it did get us this far. And back in the day, it was part of the community. The church was everything. It was a place to bury people, a place to get married. So I'm not going to disregard the church as not playing a pivotal role in getting people this far. But what I like to think is let's look at the past as the past. It's just a vehicle that got us to the present. And if we do that, then we're not as critical. And we can think more positively about the good things that religion did for us. And we can also look at all the bad things that religion did. And this is part of, I think, our job as XJWs is to really help advertise that this is a hoax, this religion. And they're using the Bible not in a good way. And I think this is really good. This is what Daniel was saying. Starboy, thanks. Fixer, enjoy your talks. Yes, the NWT is fake news. I agree. And we're saying, we're looking at, as we get to know this technology a little better, it's pretty cool. This is my first time using an OBS studio. I've got two screens set up here, so I have one screen where I can look at my browser and I can share that back and forth with you. I can't even put my picture on there, but you don't always need to see my face. You get sick of seeing my face. So this gives me a chance to go like this. And then I can even go like this and give you something else to look at. So what was that?
Responsibility asks, what do you believe in now, Vern? Still the Bible and not just following JWs?
Oh yeah. It's let's go back to my other screen here. Yeah. Like right now where I'm at, I'm definitely away out of the JWs because it's I have some videos coming up here this week I'm going to release. I've been preparing. And when you get the founder, the governing body, Jeffrey Jackson, getting up on stage and telling the court system under oath, and he's going up and in the court system swearing under oath, and then the Crown prosecutor, and many of you have probably seen this video. I just started looking around at a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to educate myself on what I missed. And some of these videos are 4 years old, but to me it's brand new. And so I'm bringing it back to light because to all the XJWs or ones that are kind of floating back and forth in the organization, they're going to hopefully look at some of these videos and see what the founders are saying in court. And it's bizarre, So the Crown prosecutor's asking Jeffrey Jackson, do you think you're the only way to God? Do you think you're the only ones? And they had to ask him about 6 times, but I only put the last part in, where he finally said no, and he paused and he says, well, that would be presumptuous for us to think that we're the only ones. God has many ways to Jehovah, is what he said. There's many ways to Jehovah. And so I have that coming up on a video. I thought that was that's mind-blowing. If you see that as a Jehovah's Witness or one that's just slowly looking back and forth, wouldn't that make you think, so here Jeffrey Jackson, so then I go into the Watchtower and show that no, this isn't what they teach. And you and I know that the Jehovah's Witnesses are probably one of the strongest religions, like the most forthright in saying that they have the only truth on earth. So what they say in their literature is I went right to the Watchtower and I asked the question, right in JW Org, are you the only ones? And they said no, there's others. So they're very sneaky. Do you know what the others are? Ones that have died in the past. That's what they're saying. Like the apostles and early congregations, things like that. That's what they're saying. But they evade the real question, just like in the court system. And they evade that in their literature, and you really have to look close. So I get a kick out of doing that. So that's what else do you do in the wintertime when you're sitting around? So on the, oh my God, that's warm, happy summer. Yeah, we have some cold weather up here. There is one way to Yahweh, His way, and that's true, Sherry. Sherry's going to come online, maybe give us a course one day. We left that open. We're hoping to get this all set up for the new year.
In the new year.
And we're in the new year, so. Anything else? Anybody else online want to put a question in, put a discussion point in? Any other great awakenings? What I like to get is if there's any areas of research. Now, I forget of all the people online, but in the last week, someone has sent us some information and said, we want to be anonymous. They actually emailed it to us. And so I checked these emails out and I went to the sites and I looked at the videos, and sure enough, and this got me doing further research, and I'm going to be revealing a little bit more on some of the videos. I did on one today, but it blows me away. And this is old news, but old news is new news if you haven't heard it before. And for a lot of us Jehovah's Witnesses that are just waking up, like for me, this is June. I really haven't looked online. I was afraid to look online as of June this last year. So 7 months, I've been going at this 16 hours a day some days. We've made this a passion, made this part of it. The start of the program, I wanted to educate my kids and leave kind of a trail for them. And so waking up is kind of an interesting thing. I actually thought I would just redo the Truth Book. So I kind of went through the Truth Book a bit. And if a lot of you might not, if you're younger, I don't know if a lot of you are my age, the Truth Book, the Blue Bomb, hit the Guinness World Book of Records, sold 116 million copies in 106 languages, something like that. 116 languages, 106 million copies. It equates to about $5 a book, a lot of money they made selling the Truth Book. And at that time, you went up to the literature counter and you had to pull out some money and pay for these books. And that was big business. Russell and these guys, Rutherford wrote 27 books in his life while he was in the organization. Russell wrote something in the neighborhood of the same amount, 20-some books. Russell wrote about 50,000 pages. And I figure that's about 3 pages a day. So if we're going to be a little bit like Russell, we have to get online and do these videos, about 3 pages a day. Just pound them out there. We're hitting the whole world with these videos. And you guys, as part of the audience, you can help out. We can get you online, and you can tell your stories. Send us in some questions. If you know some news that's cutting edge news, send it in. We'll do some research, and perhaps we'll make a video of it. So that's kind of how this all works. Sherry D, I think Proverbs says that he who covers his own sin will not prosper.
Down at the bottom, Deuteronomy 13 says we are not to add or take away from.
Yeah, isn't that true? So we go to we can go to the Jehovah's Witness Bible. The Deuteronomy is a good one. I would look at it. You can look at it in their Bible. But let's look at that scripture. Wouldn't hurt. But I want to find a different Bible. We'll look at it in this Bible, this older 1984 edition. So that's Deuteronomy. And I'm gonna share my screen with you here. Sorry. So that's Deuteronomy chapter. Which chapter is that?
13.
Chapter
This is Deuteronomy 13.
13. There we go. And which verse?
Doesn't say.
No.
Sherry, give us a verse.
So Sherry, what verse is that? We're going to share your scripture here. I used it in one of my earlier videos. And Daniel used it as well on his video. Deuteronomy 13 says we don't add or delete from the Bible. So we could read the whole chapter. Here we go. In that case, here it is. Deuteronomy 13 and 1. In case a prophet or a dreamer of dream arises in your midst and does give you a sign or a portent, and the sign or portent does come true of which he spoke to you, saying, let us walk after other gods, whom you have not known, and let us serve them, you must not listen to the words of that prophet or to the dreamer of dreams, because Jehovah your God is testing you, to know whether you are loving Jehovah your God with all of your heart and all of your soul. So this is from the New World Translation, and it'll say the same thing pretty much in any of the other Bibles. But it talks about this prophet or dreamer of dreams, and isn't that what Russell, Rutherford, and the modern day governing body are? Dreamers of dreams. They have these ideas. They make pictorial books upon these dreams, and they've changed the Bible. So I'm just flicking through this. I've used that, the dreamer of dreams, and it talks about stoning them if they're a false prophet. Now, I'm just skimming through here really quick, and unless you give me some more scriptures, that's about all I'm going to cover on that. But yeah, I've used that in case a prophet or a dreamer of dream arrives. And Deuteronomy says to deal with them swiftly. It's not a place I would want to be if I was... I wouldn't want to write a Bible anyways. Like, there's enough Bibles out there, I would think. False prophets, liars, twisting and distorting the scriptures to their own destruction is another. These are all scriptures that we remember. Deuteronomy 4 and 2 is another one. So let's look here. Let's go there together. Deuteronomy 4 and 2. And let's see if I can get us there. There we are. So Deuteronomy 4 and 2 says, you must not add to the word that I am commanding you, neither must you take away from it, so as to keep the commandments of Jehovah your God, or Yahweh, would be the correct pronunciation, that I am commanding you. So now, a question, so there you go. We can't add or take anything away from it. And I don't know, I think probably I wonder how many Bible scholars are guilty of this. And then, there is some argument to some of these, they call them spurious scriptures. If these monks came out in 900 CE, so they came out quite a bit later and added, and then they made it part of the canon. I'm not sure how much of the Bible they played with, but It is what we have today, and I guess if God, Satan is an adversary, so God would no doubt have holy books on earth for people. And I did a video, just stepping outside of the box too. All the religions on earth have holy books, prophets, and ways, and I think most of the faiths on earth they promote love. They promote planting trees, looking after the earth, things like that. Christianity is one of the most divided of all of the faiths on the planet. We're in it. I don't plan on leaving it. It's all I know. When you spend 30 years studying this, and now I'm having to restudy it, undo it, and go online and get help from you guys to understand what the two witnesses are, what the olives are. Some of this stuff we might not have it all right. To really think that we're on this planet, this plane of existence, and maybe this is a testing ground. That's what I'm looking at. And if we pass all the tests, or we generate enough loving energy, we attract the Holy Spirit, maybe that's going to get us into a better plane of existence when we die. I'm not sure. After reading the Bible all the years, whether I was a Jehovah's Witness or not, outside of religion, I think for any of us that, even if you're in the Catholic religion and you're outside of it, we have these ideas that, yes, there is other places. There's things that can happen if we live a bad life, and things that can happen if we live a good life. And a lot of this stuff, I think, is just inside of people naturally. I think it's right built within us, even without the Bible. We have a certain amount of this stuff built within us. But I'm not saying that, if we look at the earth, there's a lot of it's a damaged place if you want to look at it that way. But I think it's what you look for in life, what we try to find. And Revelation 22 and 18 is another good scripture. We'll look at that one. Sherry brought that one up. I think Daniel brought that up. A lot of these are good scriptures. I'm going to go there right now. So that's Revelation 22 verse 18. And especially for new people, I guess. I like most of the Jehovah's Witnesses would know these scriptures, but maybe not. Depends how long you were in the organization for, and how much studying you did. And I'm not sure if Jehovah's Witnesses really try to get us to study this a lot. They try to make it look like they can change things, but I'm not sure. So, what was that scripture?
Revelation 22.
And 18, right? So 22 and 18 says, I am bearing witness to everyone that hears the words of the prophecy of this scroll. If anyone makes an addition to these things, God will add to him the plagues that are written in this scroll. And if anyone takes anything away from the words of the scroll of this prophecy, God will take his portion away from the trees of life and out of the holy city, things which are written about this scroll. He that bears witness of these things says, yes, I am coming quickly. Amen, the Lord. So yeah, there it is. It's clear. It's beyond any shadow of a doubt. We can see that. It's the Bible's so clear about adding or deleting. Now, are they arguing out of the book of Revelation, that scroll, or the whole Bible? But then when we look at Deuteronomy talks about not adding or deleting, and that's the Old Testament. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that I could probably really trust the Old Testament more so than the New Testament if I wanted to be a skeptic. If I wanted to say that God, this is all just history and it's just all language that's passed on, and God really didn't have a hand in getting it this far, if I wanted to believe that. And a lot of this is faith. There's a lot of faith that you have to believe that the New Testament made it this far without being changed. I often wonder that. So, do we just have faith in it and believe it? Or I think we have to do a bit of research too. We can't be blind faith. So, here's the illustration I often used, even when I was a Jehovah's Witness. It's an Anthony Robbins illustration. I was probably a bad Jehovah's Witness. I was commuting for a while I was doing some work, so I'd listen to these cassette tapes. I could either listen to Kingdom Melodies, and they got quite boring, and I wasn't into symphony at the time. I was younger, and but I was an entrepreneur. I was running my own company, and I needed to learn some skill sets. And I found that the Anthony Robbins tapes were good because, not that I'm promoting his stuff, don't go and buy it, it's crap. But at the time, it was something different than the Jehovah's Witness crap. So I was just learning a different piece of crap, really. But I'm not saying it's all crap. The Anthony Robbins stuff, I learned this illustration there, and I used it with the Jehovah's Witnesses, is faith. And he talked about faith. And I thought he did a really good illustration there, better than any of the Watchtower illustrations. And he compared it to driving on the highway. And to get out, we go and get our driver's license. So many of you probably have a driver's license, and you have a vehicle, perhaps, and you drive. And to get out on that highway, the only thing that's separating us from the car coming in the opposite direction is a little yellow line. That's it. Just a little yellow line. And so that car coming towards you, if he leans down, gets his coffee, and that he could swerve right in front of you. Like, we could start thinking like that. And we could think ourselves right out of driving because it's too dangerous and there's too many what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? Because it takes a lot of faith. And it takes faith in the other driver. That the other driver is like you, conscientious, looking out, experienced, and it takes faith. And there are accidents, and people die on the roads driving, but we still go out and drive because we have faith that we can get from point A to point B. And I think with the Bible, it comes down to a little bit of faith in the same sense. Did you have a question, hon?
No, Daniel actually pointed out another scripture.
Okay.
Proverbs 30:5-6.
So Proverbs 30, Daniel pointed this one out. So we'll go to Proverbs 30, 5 and 6. Proverbs 30. Okay, it's a little slower flicking over when we're using the internet, but here we are. Proverbs 30 and verse 5 and 6. It says here, every saying of God is refined. He is a shield to those taking refuge in him. Add nothing to his words, that he may not reprove you, and that you may not have to be proved a liar. That's really good, Daniel. Every saying of God is refined, so he is a shield to those taking refuge in him. Add nothing to his words, that he may not reprove you, and that you may not have to be proved a liar. Absolutely. So I was doing some reading on these scribes, and it gave me some more faith in understanding, just like faith in driving. You know, if you understand a driving instructor, or a lot of people go to a driving school, and a lot of it's there's a lot to learn about driving and understanding how to get your foot to eye coordination and everything to work together, so it's automatic, instinctive. So in translating the Bible, I was doing some studying on these monks. And these guys, they devoted their whole life just to scribing and transcribing the Bible word for word. And all the way through history, there is someone doing this. And, it's like driving, and we have to have faith that this book got to this point. And like Daniel is saying here, that nothing's added. It's refined. So for the most part, nothing's added. Of course, when we go to the New World Translation, there's a lot of additions, and the biggest red flag, I would think, for us as ex-Jehovah's, but when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, the biggest red flag should have been that this Bible is not sold anywhere else in the world. No bookstore will handle it. But as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were programmed to believe that everything from the Watchtower was the truth, and I think that's part of it. So it's kind of a form of narcissism, perhaps. I came into the religion. A lot of people grew up in it, so you can't blame that on them. But I don't know. I just thought it was the truth. It looked good at the time. The young people were. That was back in the 80s. We didn't have a lot of other things to do. We didn't have smartphones. No one had a smartphone. No one had a cell phone. No one had a pager back then. I had a pager later on, but I used to I'd have a 1-800 number. I was a remote technician. I lived in this small city, but I reported back to a bigger city, and I'd have to phone their 800 number a couple of times a day and report in. And then later they got us a beeper. So if they beeped us, we'd have to phone the 800 number. Yeah. So, of course, things got better, and as time went on in the 90s, we got internet. So now we have today. It's a different world.
Way back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Say when you had hair.
Yeah, I did have hair back then. I actually did a video under Reflections. It's a while ago. I did a video showing a picture of me with hair when I started, and when I started with the Kingdom Hall. So it's amazing, once you get married and have a few kids, you lose all your hair. So that's just the way it is. And out of all my brothers, I'm the only one that lost hair. I come from four of us boys, but I'm the only one that lost the hair. Yeah. All the other boys have thick hair.
Anyway.
But that's you can't. My dad said, "Well, you can't grow brain and hair at the same time." So I guess I grew brains. I don't know.
They don't watch this channel.
That's my thing. There's all kinds of jokes. So there's also a number. Do we read the one,
Yeah.
Proverbs 30? Yeah. So we've had some good scriptures. We don't want to change the Bible, but I don't know what you guys think, but I think we have to have a certain amount of faith that God got the Bible this far for us, and His word's valid. And it does make sense. You look through it, and you can make sense of it. I find contradictions in certain areas, but we can find the truth if we're looking. I think so. The truth isn't that hard. And you know what I think is the truth is so easy that you can't make money off it. There's no tricks to it. The truth is really about love and being open-minded and looking out for one another, being good neighbors. That's the truth. Love, just being a good person, not thinking too critical. We have to be critical thinking to a certain extent, and I think for us ex-JWs, we all have a little bit of a job to help those coming out of that religion. There's a lot coming out, a lot of lost people. I was lost, and it's scary being lost. It's like you're caught between two worlds. You're floating. And I was talking to someone online the other day. It's like floating in a bubble. It is. You're just lost. And I think as we grow as a community, we get closer, and we don't have to be lost. So, and that's hopefully what this Tuesday chat night can be. We can get online. It's a place to hang out for an hour. Nothing great. We used to go to meetings, but now we don't have to start a car. We don't have to go anywhere. And I'm going to tell you guys, I don't have all the answers. In fact, you know from my channel, I'm asking you guys for answers because I'm trying to fix my faith. And a lot of you guys out there have fixed yours already. I'm talking to some, I call them old timers that have been out seemed like they'd fixed their faith for 6 or 7 years, and they've got a lot of things figured out. And I like the fact that they're sharing this stuff online. I go and do the research and pick out of it and what works, and it's a slow process. So yeah, I think we're going to close the channel down, and we've been up for about an hour. So Sherry made a nice comment here: love your neighbor as you love yourself. Whatever you would have done to you, you should do for others. Isn't that true? That's the golden rule. That's the golden rule. Do to others as you want them to do to you. That's really it. You see, you can't make money off that stuff. We don't need to print literature. I'm finding I'm having more fun just looking at the Bible, reading the whole chapter. And then people come on like Daniel and different ones, read here. Sherry's given me a lot of advice to read. I wished I could read Hebrew. I am going to look at, I'm very interested in how those Hebrew letters equals a number and how that corresponds to our DNA. That intrigues me when we start combining science with the old Torah. And a lot of people say, well, the Jews, blah, blah, blah. The Jews did a good job. They got all this scribed. They brought it all down to our day. This Torah, they call it, I'm thinking, if I got that right. But anyways, I have a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn. We can do it together on this channel. Next Tuesday night, YouTube's not receiving enough video, it says here. So it's a good time to sign off.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. And thanks, Daniel, for queuing in tonight. He's our ex-Catholic, ex-JW assistant. Keep up the good work, Daniel. A lot of ex-JWs are clicking on there. And we share. And we all share our stories with one another. Daniel's actually in Australia. And it's tomorrow, if you're in the US or Canada, North America, it's tomorrow there. And it's like 1 o'clock or something? Tomorrow. Yeah, 2-ish. Tomorrow in Australia, and it's summertime there. So we're in December, so that would be like our July.
So
yeah.
Sorry, Starboy is asking, say maybe advising everyone about one topic for next time. What is your topic for next week?
Yeah, what would you guys like to talk about?
What are you working on?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm working. I'm working on some Russell and Rutherford. Is Russell immoral? I'm working on that, but that's going to come out in a video. Some of the recent stuff, some of this Australia stuff, I don't know. It's some negative stuff. I'm open. Way back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. We tried to get out a thumbnail. I don't know if everyone gets out our videos, but we could put out something, think about a topic. Well, I have a couple topics. I've been working on uncovering, some of this shunning stuff that they're doing. I think that's horrible, the shunning. Why don't we make shunning? Let's have an open discussion about shunning. I don't know if any of you have ever been disfellowshipped, but Daniel wouldn't even know what that means. As a Catholic, he probably knows a lot about the JWs if he's out helping them. He said he had some in his church he was helping. And we do need a lot of help. But shunning is terrible. I think it's the most terrible thing. I'd do a topic on shunning. How about that, Starboy? Shunning? I got disfellowshipped when I was... I'll talk about that next week. There's been so many disfellowshippings when I was, the 30 years I was in, it'd make your head spin, and we'll chat with that.
Let's hear your disfellowship.
But I want to hear your guys' stories. Yeah. Tell us some of your disfellowshipping stories. Next week. Yeah. Okay? So, la 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 tav, shalom. Is that what that means? Like a shalom thing?
Leila tav.
What does that mean?
Say Leila tav.
Leila tav.
There you go.
Yeah?
Good night.
Good night. Okay. Well, good night, everyone. And remember, keep living your life with love. Bye for now. Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. End stream. Great topics, non-biblical. They have an 800-page book on it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see you later.